Another day and another visit to the Sherwood Forest Country Park. Going to be doing the other half today, and it's a nice day. Bit more cloudy. That looks quite nice, doesn't it? Anyway, that's the way we're heading. So cue the intro. One of Sherwood's oldest residents. Would have been a magnificent tree in its day. It's been dead for many, many years, decades, or maybe even 100 years. Still offers life, because there's a great spotted woodpecker nest hole. Wonder where this old bough used to be. Have recorded hornets nesting in here. Hopefully we can find a hornet's nest today. And these trees do still give a bit of life. And there's some signs of it here. And these are the old borings and workings over a number of beetles. They're not medieval scriptures, Robin and Marion Rear, that kind of thing. But these old trees do play home to an infamous beetle called the Death Watch beetle. So named because years ago, when furniture was made out of old timber, the beetles could often hatch out, and the males apparently make a clicking noise, a tapping noise, which was said to represent the ticking of a clock, and often heard at times when people were lying on their deathbed. Hence the name Death Watch beetle. And most of the trees at Sherwood are riddled with Death Watch beetle holes. But we won't find any of those today. That's the way we're heading. We're going to look for another famous tree of Sherwood's. One that's extremely well photographed. And it's up that way. There's a little bit more breeze today than the other day, but the sun keeps breaking through. And it's pleasantly warm. And here's the tree I was telling you about. And this is an oak known as the Medusa Tree. There used to be more new sort of growths or trunks coming out of it. A couple have died off, even in the 20 or so years since I've seen it. But the ones that are on have actually grown. At one time, this would have been a huge tree. But of course, at some time, many, many years ago, was cut. And I imagine it was cut by hand and a couple of blokes, rather than a chainsaw. It's a very photographed tree. But we're heading that way. into the farthest reaches of the country park, away from the major oak. And over on the left, out of screen and down 100 yards or so, there's the heather path which came back along the other day in a previous video. But we're not doing that today. We're going to the far end of Sherwood. This is Seymour Grove on the right, which is a narrow belt of largely pine trees, Scots pine. There used to be a lot of larch in it, but most of those have been removed. There are a few birches in there and young oaks, and even some mountain ash. But it's raining leaves. Birch leaves. There'll be no leaves on the birches in a week at this rate. Autumn is here. So we'll go up there. Apparently, there's a yellow weather warning out for rain. But I think while I'm out here, I'll be alright. This is a walk along Seymour Grove, which is far longer than what you think it is. It's just as long a drive as well. I used to drive along here numerous times, mostly when we were coming to do a glowworm survey in the country park, because it's a long slog to park on the Swanker Road and then walk all the way along here. And we always dropped in here before we went up to Clipston Old Quarter, so it was always easy just to unlock a couple of barriers, drive through, unlock another barrier, and you'd be at the centre tree. We'll probably see the centre tree today. But the park is very quiet. But there again, once you get away from the major oak, that's where all the people come. And usually once the kids have walked or been dragged to the major oak, I don't want to go any further. You know what they're like nowadays? Oh, we've got to walk all the way along there. Oh God. That's just the parents now. No one wants to walk anywhere nowadays. And here's another old beauty. Not me. That. It's been down many years. Mind you, I feel like that sometimes. You do as you get older, you know. You lot's got it all to come yet, I'll tell you. Anyway, onwards and upwards. I'll have another go at this. This is the third time I've tried to take this. And this is the area where glowworms are in the country park. There's a path that runs down through there, goes down to the end of the heather path, and along that stretch there and behind me. And they have been to this gate, but we're going through here, which a few of us know as being the best place, or the most regularly reported place, for slow worms. We only ever found one. Still ain't never seen a live one yet, and the one we found was dead. It had been run over by a ranger's vehicle, and that was just on the path behind me. But follow this path here, this grass track. It leads right up to the centre tree, and that's roughly where we'll be going. We'll deviate slightly because there's a track or a little pathway just on the right in that hollow. And now the mountain bikers have gone with their internal nattering or shouting, the forest is now peaceful. Each to their own, I suppose, he says begrudgingly. Now I'm starting to get deeper into the forest. Oh, it's just going over. Oh, look at that. I look, it's saying it's quite unusual that there's no signs of people. Well, that's looking where I've walked up, and I'm now at a crossroads. That way is the general direction of the heather path and towards the new visitor centre. But it changes this part of the forest and becomes more oak dominated. And we can head down that way. But I think we'll continue on the original plan and go up there. Here's a typical shot of the forest floor at this end of Sherwood, dominated by this beautiful pincushion type moss, a lot of that, and mixed in with this bigger moss on the right hand side. Amazing things when you look closely at the forest floor and at mosses and lichens. They're almost just like a miniature forest, and I suppose it is to those small animals that live amongst it. The old remnants of previous year's leaves. Oak leaves take an age to break down. Birch don't, so most of the leaves that you see on that are dead and that have fallen are indeed oak. And there are some young oak saplings amongst here. There we are. Look. But I love mosses. I don't plan to study them. I just appreciate how fantastic they look. And autumn is a great time, now that we've had some rain, they start to put on some growth, and the lichens will also colour up now we've had some rain. So there we are, a little glimpse of this quite open area actually, underneath this big old chap. This is what you need to experience if you ever come to Sherwood. This. Not the visitor centre. Yeah, have a quick glance at the major oak. The real forest is further on. This is the realm of nuthatches and tree creepers, jays, and all sorts of birds. The forest hosts good numbers of redwing during the winter months, and right through till mid to late April, sometimes even into early May. I see they've been and strapped a few trees up. Notably, that chap there. I could do some strapping like that. But as we walk through the forest, this is probably the forest how people want it to be and how people perceive Sherwood Forest to be. Of course, they like the Robin Hood experience and the legend of Robin Hood, but it is fictitious. One of those sort of far-fetched stories that's been added to over the years. The real history of Sherwood lies from across the North Sea. The Vikings. That is real history. And for some reason, as a county, or as a council, in the case of Newark and Sherwood District Council, they don't bang on about it. The Viking history of this place, because it is important. What's been found here is of international importance. The whole area, not just the country park, but the surrounding villages, are all linked to the Vikings. Not to some bloke allegedly in green tights. Well, you still get a few of them nowadays. But beautiful, isn't it? These stately old trees. There is something incredibly magical about woods and trees. Yes, I'm about to lecture you about how important trees are. But they are. They're the lifeblood and the life givers of the planet. Stop cutting them down. But woods and forests are many people's go-to places in times of stress, anxiety and worry. The most marvellous places to sit. Find yourself a stump or one of nature's natural seats in the form of a fallen tree or a fallen limb, I sit under these fantastic trees. No amount of photographs or videos can capture how special woodland is. It's even better when you're the only one here. Oh, a gate. I do love a gate. Oh, you can't see it, can you? Hang on. Have I show you there's a gate? That means we're nearly at the favourite tree, centre tree. But I've got another favourite just up here. He's become my friend. Fell in love with him last winter. And he's a grand chap. What's left of him. And as you'll see, he'll point you in the right direction. It's an interesting little bit. This is a leaf miner. Really common in Sherwood. And this is the leaf mine of this small micro moth called Teicheria echebladella. Or words to that effect. The mines are easy to distinguish because there's these whitish sort of blotch mines. And I've not seen this before. I've seen, the mines before many times, but I've not seen it so frequent on these sapling oaks. So even from a very early age, I mean, this little tree is only a few months old, and it's already harbouring life. But it's a leaf mine you will find it even in urban areas. Seem to think it's present in the grounds of Nottingham City Hospital. So it's one to keep an eye out for, and that's Teicheria echebladella, one of our more distinctive leaf mines. And here is my mate, my little pal. Although, judging by the state of him, he's been through it a bit. Still think it looks like a hooded figure pointing out to the left. And when he's dressed with snow, looks even more like a hooded figure. They make such fantastic shapes, but it would be interesting to know just how this tree got twisted like this. I mean, at one time it would have probably ended up being a 45-degree angle that way. It's twisted round enormously. Maybe when it was young, it had some kind of fracture or deformity. It wasn't twisting away from the light. I don't think that at all. But anyway, that lad is one of my favourites. Some who know the country park and Broad Drive will say, he's not on Broad Drive. No, little deviation. We're just cutting across this quiet pathway. We're heading down that direction. then we'll bear off left on a path that will wind down, if I remember, it's called Five Ways, which is at the bottom of Broad Drive where I was the other day. And there's an interesting named oak on that path, and I'm going to try and see if I can remember where it was. A bit of blue sky. This is the edge of the forest. That's where I've just walked along. There's the path that I was telling you about, and that's where we're going. And this area looks as though it's going to be opened up a bit at some time, presumably winter operations. And it is quite unique in Sherwood because it has been cleared at some time, and a lot of this is all regrowth, so it is very thick. The sunlight coming through makes it look quite nice though. So this time next year it might not look so heavily foliaged and covered as this. And it's a quiet bit of path as well. Anyway, let's get going. Nice bit of breeze and a nice old oak here that's still going. It's been haloed around it, so it's the first time I've seen this area looking like this. Although saying that, this is not one of the areas that Dillis and I used to walk around a lot. And this is like a four-way crossroads. Looks nice, at least. Yeah, we've now got some sunshine and blue sky, so that obviously totally alters how the forest looks. Add some shadows. I do love September, you know. Just a shame it's the end of the year, nearish. I love the old gnarled patterning and grooves and workings by invertebrates over the years of these old ancients. And they're all different. If you like your textures, these are the things to look at. But although the majority of them are dead, and most of this tree is dead, it does provide life, or at least somewhere for life to exist. And this is an unusual fungus. I'll show you why in a minute, and you'll see why it gets its name, which is extremely obvious when I show you. But it's unusual. This is what's known as a beefsteak fungus, and this is a young bracket that's just forming. And this is quite unusual in terms of bracket fungi. This is the first time I've seen one fresh and close up for many years. And usually with bracket fungi, the top side is smooth. Might be a bit gnarled, but generally it's smooth and not covered in pores like this one is. But beefsteak fungus is the same above and below. On all bracket fungus is usually thousands and thousands of small pores underneath, and then smooth on top, almost like a crust on top. This has got both sides, but you may well have just seen an indication why it's called beefsteak fungus underneath. But here's why. It's a bit of slug damage. Slugs love fungi, and when you look at that, it's just like you look at a piece of steak. But there's another reason or feature that makes it look even more like steak. And if we come down to the bottom here, they bleed. Here's another one. Here we go. Presumably slug damage, unless someone's had a pick at it, and then it bleeds red. Quite a remarkable thing. It's not very often you see it. So this is the beefsteak fungus. Well, I've got to the bottom of Broad Drive. To what the range is always called five ways, because you've got two there straight up, then off to the left there, which is where we've just come down. Up there, which is where I went, which is the path that joins up to where glowworms are, if you watch the rest of this video. And then two paths there. There's actually another one there, so they call it, I don't know, maybe I'll call it 6 ways, but I'm going straight ahead, which will take us past a very famous resident, which we saw in the first video. Those little shafts of sunlight like that. And even a couple of male speckled woods having a tussle. Grand. And it's quiet. Thought as I'm walking past it, we might as well have a look at it from a different view. I must admit, I'm surprised they let elderberry grow at the foot of it. But this is, of course, the major oak. And it does have the biggest trunk girth in the forest, but there are some that are close to it. But none have this shape and thickness of boughs. It is a magnificent tree, and it's quieter here today, which is nice. Anyway, we'll carry on. And we'll have to get one of them. When you're in the vicinity of the major oak, or between the major oak and the visitor centre, the whole forest has a different atmosphere. It's almost like two separate woodlands, two separate forests. This area has seen lots of thinning out over the years. Big paths like this to accommodate the public masses. My big fear with Sherwood is that's what it will ultimately become. Right, I'm extending my thing. That it will become too touristy. You could say that it already has, and I would agree with that. And you compare this. This end's more manicured, but the other end will fast become the same with these well-trodden paths. And you've got smaller paths at this end of Sherwood. It's far more difficult to find a bit of peace and quiet. You can still do it at the other end. This end, with it being used a lot by the public, there's an element of health and safety in site management, cutting of the grass at the sides and cutting the nettles. I don't know why, because it's a country park. But anyway, that's the way we're heading. That's a big horrible pile of wood and brash, and that's where I've come from. Taking a lesser known or lesser used pathway now, especially now the old visitor centre's been closed. And this area at the back of the old visitor centre is a bit of a mystery, really. There's no mystery as to what these trees are. The mystery is why they've left them. The trees are yew, just in case you didn't realise, which is Taxus baccata in old money. And yew, I'm glad that they have left it, or left them, because they're only in this part. Oh, as a mature tree, they're only in this part of Sherwood. Nothing grows underneath yews. There are a few in other parts of the country park, but they are just young trees or scrub. But yew is very much a typical tree of other areas of woodland in Sherwood Forest and elsewhere in, certainly in North Nottinghamshire. So it's good that they have left them, because it is a native tree. This was one of the main paths years ago from the visitor centre. Visitor centre, which is just through here. Now I'm sure that green path, with my dyslexia, it says come on through. So that's what we'll do. Well, Trev, where are we? You may well ask. This is the site of the old visitor centre. To be honest, when you look at it now, you'd never know. But behind here, where there used to be the sort of Robin Hood experience or the display and one of the main gift shops. And then as we come across here, we used to do events over there. Did the sim myself under the canopy. mini beast hunts and the like. Just here was the other shop. Sold books and various stuff. And here now, and in front of me, was where the office used to be. Nice to know that there's a little pond is still here, although I doubt if there'll be any water in it. And certainly, no one's probably looked at it since the visitor centre went. Unbelievable how it's changed. Someone's dumped some rubbish there. Somewhere under here. Some very big spiders. Because this is the site of Nottinghamshire's only known colony of Meta Menardi, which is one of the 2 cave spiders. I'd have a job to find it now. They're under an old GPO box, which is somewhere below my feet. I think you'd need a crowbar or something to touch the ground to find where it's hollow. Anyway, if over the last 30-40 years you came to visit Sherwood, came to the visitor centre, you came here. In fact, the old restaurant was behind me. Seems strange, the number of people that used to come through here. Anyway, I think that sign said come on through. Long time since I did any reading at school. They asked me to read a word once. I says, I can't see what it is. I says, it looks like slid dock silk. And that was when they said, you can't read, you. Anyway, there's another gate here that I'm going to athletically jump over. There. Told you it said public welcome. Nothing wrong with my reading skills. Anyway, now marks the start of the steady walk, thankfully downhill, through the old staff car park, which we always used to use. We always used to park here. Well, we used to be here virtually every day. So we're heading down that road. Bit of brightness in the sky again. You'll see another couple of old trees that we'll have a look at. although quite near to the visitor centre. Although now they've built a new visitor centre, I suppose the public are even less inclined to walk this way, but this is a quiet part of the forest. We've got the Swinecote Road over to my right. And here's a bit of something. We have here a Sexton Beetle, which is busily feasting on a dead slug. Sexton beetles are wonderful. They usually work in pair to bury small rodents. Amazing how these beetles can find dead things very quickly. And it's unusual to see one out like this. There's several species which it could be, and they always have mites on the back of them. This one looks as though it's got the all black antenna, which, if I remember right, makes it Microphorus, Vespilioides, if I remember right. And now we've got some sunshine. But usually these things will work as a pair to bury small rodents, and they'll dig underneath the small rodent. The rodent gradually, or the body of the rodent, goes into the hole, and then these cover it up and go inside and lay eggs. But a super beetle and we've been quite lucky in catching this one. And off it goes. Just had a feed and off into the grass. You'll have to forgive us if we've got the name wrong. And here's a fabulous old oak with some super old epicormic growths. Epicormic growths are like where the bulges are on the side of the trunks. When the tree was younger and those growths were just starting, there would be hundreds of small shoots coming off that. Let's have a look, see if there's one nearby, but there isn't. But this is a really good tree, and it has hosted hornet nest, probably on more than one occasion, but certainly one occasion that I can remember. And what was unusual about this particular hornet nest was that there was an entrance and there was an exit. And if I remember right, the entrance was there, and I think the exit was either up here or it was that. And it didn't realise there was an entrance and an exit. We knew there was an entrance because you could see them, flying in to there. And I was sort of stood here at the time, and I didn't realise that there were some guards at the exit where I was standing. Luckily, I didn't get stung, which is quite unusual. We've got a bleed on this tree. But these are the growths. Look at this for a width of trunk. Don't know why this epicormic growth still has its bark, and yet that one doesn't. But it's a magnificent tree. It's still completely alive and looking nice in the autumn sun. Years ago, This used to be a well-trodden path. There's a path over to the left of me, which is the one that had the Necrophorus beetle on it. And I'll come down this other bit just to show you that last tree. But this was the path that we always used to walk. But now, it doesn't look as though it's walked by anybody. And within another couple of years, I won't be able to get down here. It's a good job I'm slim, athletic and agile. I think we need to go around there. But yeah, even in this section, some really good old ancients. I suppose you can have a young ancient really, so I don't know why I said old. And this part of the forest was thinned a number of years ago. Oh, that was a woodcock. I don't know how much you saw of it. If anything, maybe woodcock was having a drink. Well, that path was just too difficult, so just there is what's called the military path, which runs straight from the Swanket Road here through to the major oak. And so for this last little leg back down to the car, down there, well, we're sticking to the road. I'm in need of some liquid refreshment, so I think it's time to go.